life can hit like a sledgehammer. But guess what? We hit back harder. Welcome to Affirm That Shit. Somehow I thrive. I'm Jennifer Rogers, your no BS guide to turning life's toughest moments into badass victories. Ready to flip the script? Let's affirm that life can be a bitch, but somehow we thrive. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Affirm That Shit. Thank you for joining us. Quick question. How many of you, probably all of you, like myself and our guest today, have asked yourself, what is my life? Great question, right? So when you ask the question, how do you answer it? What do you do? What do you shake up? What do you move around? How do you kick that shit off your shoes and move forward? Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Andrea Hunt. She is a powerhouse. She is someone who has no fear in her spirit and who hit the ground ready to go and to define what her life is. I'm so excited for you to hear her story. But before that, let's get into our affirmations. I'm going to ask you to take a moment to settle in when and where you can. Take a deep breath in. Close your eyes, relax, and let that breath out. Our first affirmation. I am always ready for a new adventure. I am always ready for a new adventure. I am always ready for a new adventure. My road to happiness is paved by my sense of wonder and curiosity. My road to happiness is paved by my sense of wonder and curiosity. My road to happiness is paved by the sense of wonder and curiosity. I hold the power to change anything I don't like. I have permission to move forward and towards better. I hold the power to change anything I don't like. I have permission to move forward and towards better. I hold the power to change anything I don't like. I have permission to move forward and towards better. Stick with us after this break. You'll hear from Andrea.
Imagine a space where you let go, where the clamor of the world quiets and you meet your truest self. At Yukio, through sound vibrations, Reiki, and the wisdom of tarot, we help you release what no longer serves you, align with your energy, and renew your spirit. Begin your journey back to yourself today.
Hello, Andrea.
Hi there. Thank you for this wonderfully warm introduction. I really appreciate that.
You are welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We have listeners and viewers, so we are going to be reaching many ears today with your story. And just to be honest, that introduction I picked up in our pre-call. I loved when you said, "What is my life?" Because I thought, oh my gosh, the number of times I've asked myself that throughout my life.
Right? Relatable, I'm sure.
Yes. So our podcast is super simple. You are the star of the show, sister. So I'm just going to have you lean in and following with our theme of affirm that shit. Somehow we've thrived. So we are so excited to hear your story of coming through your shitstorm and how you're thriving today. Where are you taking us?
That's a really good question. I mean, I guess like when I was listening to the introduction, the first thing that I was thinking about is the times in my life where I've been like, what is my life? Like, what is going on? Why is this happening? Usually those kind of times are when I kind of felt, like when everything is spiraling and you feel yourself kind of sinking, that's when I was like, I don't have to stay here. I don't have to stay stuck. I always need to do something, to try to help myself. And sometimes in my life it might have been as simple as like feeling that I can get a sense of control over my life by doing something like a morning routine. Because there's sometimes, where you feel like, or at least I felt like I was just flailing, like I didn't feel like I had any control over my relationship, or like, one time in Germany in 2016, I went through a breakup and I had moved to Germany for this person. So like, and our company got acquired by another company. And so we all got laid off. And then like, I did get rehired by the new company, but there was a period of like 3 months where I didn't know I was going to get that job. And I was like, oh, great. Now I'm in Germany alone. My relationship completely failed. And I just felt like everything was completely spinning around me. And that was when I actually started doing a morning routine. So sometimes it's just something simple like, okay, all I have control over right now is how I get up in the morning. And I'm going to do my yoga and I'm going to do my intentions. But it's interesting because sometimes it is very small actions, that make these big steps, and, writing intentions and stuff. And other times in my life, the action step for me was I need to move to China. Like, and the funny thing about that is, I mean, whereas now in my life, I feel like, I'm in my 40s, I have a lot more emotional tools at my disposal. But when I was 28 years old, I was not very good with my emotions or figuring things out. And when my relationship completely fell apart, he went in another direction with another person. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And so at that moment, my decision was, okay, if I stay here in this place, if I stay in Georgia, because I was in Athens, Georgia at the time, still in our old apartment, and I felt like everything completely fell apart. My plan originally had been finish university, get a job in Atlanta, be with my partner, have the family, have the house, have the whole, normal, things that many people want. And I felt like it all just completely got yanked away from me. And so at that moment, when I came back from South America, because all of this had happened there, everything just kind of tumbled in, and I felt myself just sinking lower and lower and lower. And it was one of those moments where it's like, okay, I can't stay like this, because if I just sink too far, I mean, I don't know where I'm going, because I was really in a dark place. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get out of here. Like, I need to go start over. Everything reminds me of him. And so the funny thing is that when I was in Bolivia, I had met an American girl at our hostel pancake breakfast who had been teaching in Korea. And she was like, well, why don't you just go teach English? And I was like, I'm not an English teacher. Like, I have a journalism degree. And she's like, that's totally fine. You just need a 4-year degree. So when I came back to Georgia, I mean, I looked on Dave's ESL Cafe, just FYI for anybody who wants, who needs to have an out. But I found a job. 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to China, to a place where I could barely find on the map, didn't know anybody, couldn't speak Chinese yet. Yeah, and I was going to be teaching children, and that was also a new thing for me, because up until that point, I didn't know anything about children, especially 35 5-year-olds who don't speak English. So, but it was the best thing that I could have done for myself.
It's like, what is my life right now?
Yeah.
That was smacking you pretty good. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So 35 children, you're teaching English, you
Yep.
don't speak. Oh my gosh.
I had
Sister.
several of those classes too. The first day I came back and I sat there, and it was complete chaos, because I did not know that children have short attention spans. Like, everything that I had planned out for the lesson, was like, we're going to do 10 minutes on this and 10 minutes. Like, no, you better think of something in 30 seconds or they're going to get bored and they're going to be running all over the room. So yeah, that was definitely a learning experience.
Oh, wow. So how long were you in that teaching position then?
I was only there for 2 semesters, so like it ended up being around like 9, 10 months. Completely transformative as well because now I love children. Like, I mean, I don't have any children of my own, but like I loved these kids. Like, I was with them for 10 days, and then they had 4 days off to go home because it was kind of a boarding school. But it was amazing because everything that they knew in English like came from me. So they were like my little kids, and I loved them.
What a beautiful gift to leave them with and to introduce them with.
Yeah, I
Nice.
made it fun.
So where's your path go? We've completed this journey. This was exciting. I'm going to some place I don't know anything about, and here I am. We've wrapped that up. Where's the next place on your map?
You mean in the future now?
Now, well, after you taught the children.
Oh, okay. So, I had originally planned, after moving to China, I was going to go to Southeast Asia. I was going to back to Argentina. That was my plan in my head. Wanted to be in Buenos Aires, like I speak Spanish. But what happened was I went to a music festival up in Beijing in May of 2006. And you probably don't think of China as a place with like, I mean, a lot of people were like, a music festival in China, and there was like metal and punk and ska music and electronic. And I got up there, and Beijing was just so fascinating to me. There were so many different kinds of people. I met so many cool Chinese people, so many cool foreigners. And I decided that I would just take some time and study Chinese as long as I was there. So I moved to Beijing. And while I was there, like I got a job doing PR, like working for an agency. Right before the Olympics, there were just tons and tons of jobs for foreigners. So 2007 and 2008. And so it was pretty easy if you could speak some Chinese and one or two other languages to get some work experience. So that's what I did. I stayed around for the Beijing Olympics. It was amazing. It was kind of a dream come true to be able to, if you see the iconic Beijing, stadium, it looks like a bird nest, for example, and the whole opening ceremony, like I got to see that live in Wangfujing, which is in downtown Beijing. But the main thing that I wanted to highlight is that I thought that I would end up going back someplace after that, but then the global financial crisis happened in 2008, and the whole world was completely on edge. And my dad's like, Andrea, I miss you, but like if you have a job, you should just stay there, in China. Don't come back right now because I don't know what's going to happen in the US. Like, and then probably he didn't want me to live in his basement or something for a couple of years, because it happened to so many of my friends, like honestly, that they had to move back home because, I mean, the rug got pulled out from everybody. So I ended up staying for another 5 years.
Oh my gosh. Your spirit of freedom is amazing, because just to pick up and go. And I think there's so many of us that want to have that spirit, but we get tied back by expectations or fear of the unknown. I'll say that for myself. I could not imagine just you know what, I like China. I want to go check it out, and bam, I'm here. I can't read the map. I can't speak, but here I am, China, right? So, what is it in you, Andrea, that you think ignites that spirit of wonder and curiosity?
I don't know. That's an interesting question. I think a lot of times it was just a desire to be unstuck and feel like I had control over something. Like, okay, I'm not going to stay here. I don't like this. What do I need to do to fix this? Or what do I need to do to like move myself in a different direction? I mean, I won't say that I was fearless or something like that. That would be a complete lie, because it's like I pushed myself to do it knowing that um intuitively, like in my gut, I was like, you need to do this, like whatever happens, and if you don't like it, you can always come home. Like, it's changes like that. It doesn't have to be permanent. But I mean, when I got to China, like that first night, I had felt like so, gung-ho and excited, like on the plane. And when I actually got there to the dormitory where I was sleeping, like I had my own room, but like in this dormitory room at it was a boarding house. And I sat there and I cried. Like literally, I was just like, oh my God, Andrea, like now you've done it. Like you are in China, in Zhejiang province. You can barely find this on a map. You don't speak Chinese. You don't have any friends. You don't know anybody. and I didn't even have a phone. Like, and I was just like, wow. But then I think that in the end, I mean, what I realized through that situations and so many times repeatedly in China is that I can't handle it. If nothing else, the biggest thing that I learned in China is like, if I can handle this, I can handle anything. You can just always pivot. You can always make adjustments. You can always take some action to improve your situation. And like I said, it could be big, it could be small, but you're not frozen. You don't have to be. And I think um, that's what I learned. Like, if you don't have any friends, okay, how are you going to find friends? Like, I was on MySpace and I found a group called Zhejiang. Laowai is the name that they call foreigners, like in China. So it's like Laowai Zhejiang province, and I'm like, excellent, that's the place for me. And so I found all these people, and we'd meet up on the weekends, like in Hangzhou, which is the capital of Zhejiang. Just these random like foreigners from all over the world who didn't have any foreign friends, and so yeah, I mean, there's always ways to do things. You just have to be able to push yourself a bit to actually do it.
And you are in the coaching business today.
Yes.
So, how do you coach someone who may have those fears of being stuck or out of control? Do you lean on your experience and where you've gone and offer some guidance in that way? Or how would you give some coaching tips to those that feel like I need to make the change, but I feel stuck and I don't feel like I have the control?
I think it's always good to look at first, like, what is the reason that you're stuck? Because a lot of times, there are fears and resistance. So sometimes, even when we really want to do something, like, people will spend a year like on a website and they're like, I'm going to launch my online business, my like, Etsy shop, whatever it is. They've spent all the time. This is something that they really want, but then at the end of the day, they end up procrastinating. They end up kind of seeing these self-sabotaging behaviors where they're just like, oh, there's like one little thing, and they're like, oh, I guess I'm just not going to do it. And so a lot of times it's really frustrating because they can't figure out why. They're like, I do want to do this, but when you figure out where the fears or resistance are coming from, it might be from, like, is it a fear of failure? That's a pretty obvious one for a lot of people. But people also can have fear of success, because for a lot of people, it might be like, okay, if I launch that business, like, then I'm going to kind of put myself in the spotlight. What if my friends think it's stupid? Like, what if my people from high school see it and like, who does she think she is? Like, who's going to listen to you? And so all of these insecurities and these limiting beliefs that we have will come out in that moment that we're trying to get outside of our comfort zone. Because if we're doing the same job that we've had for 10 years, we probably feel pretty competent, confident, you know um, capable, and that we can push back when people kind of naysayers, like, oh, what do you think you're doing? Excuse me, I have 10 years experience. But like, when it's something new, we don't have that. We don't have that assurance in ourselves. And so that's where I use the EFT tapping, because it's very powerful. First of all, to accept, like, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid that if you were successful, you couldn't handle it? Are afraid of judgment or criticism or people not taking you seriously? Because once you can get honest with yourself, then you can articulate it and give yourself like a chance to actually talk about the fears. Because many times we don't even want to say it out loud. Like, you know what? I'm terrified. Like, I'm terrified if I launch my website, my neighbor's going to see it and think it's stupid. Like, whatever it is. Or like, sometimes it's a family member. Like, my dad's going to think it's the dumbest thing he's ever seen. And maybe they will even say that. But we don't always need to have 100% support to be able to do the things we want to do. And most of the time, unfortunately, the reality is we will not have support from every single person in our life that we want. People are always going to think it's a bad idea. But if you can understand what the limiting beliefs are that you have, then you can voice them. And through tapping, we can go through it, like, oh my God, they're going to laugh at me. Oh my God, they're going to think it's stupid. Like, what am I doing? Do I know what I'm doing? And really go through all of these things, get all of the what ifs out of your system. Just say it out loud, say the thing, so that you can do the reframe and be like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm open to believing that, like, what if no one cares? Like, seriously, what if I launch my store and like no one says anything? What if they do care? Like, do I want to give them that power to decide whether or not I launch an Etsy shop? Like, Why should I give him that power? This is my Etsy shop. I decide if I do it. And it's really powerful because you can make that shift to allow the person to be like, this is my decision, my power, my beliefs, my behavior, whatever that I'm in control of. And if they don't like it, too bad. I'm going to do it for me.
I love that. I'm a tapper myself, and so I love you going through that example. As we get ready to wrap up today, I want to again just say thank you for being here. Your spirit of curiosity just shines so brightly. And I know there are going to be people that are like, what is tapping? I want to learn about that. Or, I want some of that confidence that Andrea had to just pick up and go. How can they reach out to you? And if you've got any contact you want us to share, feel free to mention that, any programs, and we'll put those in the show notes for you because, Andrea, I'm telling you, with what you're leaving us with today, there are going to be listeners and viewers who are going to be just flooding you. I see it.
I love that. Thank you. Well, they can always find me on my website, which is dreahunt.com, DREAHUNT. I'm all over social media. You can just search Andrea Hunt, Living Deliberately Today, or EFT Empowerment Coaching, Andrea Hunt. And also the other thing is I want to leave you, I've got 2 free ebooks that if you're interested in EFT, if you're like, maybe that could be something that would be, helpful for me. I've got one that just has a little bit of background on what is it? Where did it come from? Is there any science behind it? Because people are like, it looks kind of funny, how would it work? But they're actually acupuncture points. So I give you a little bit more information on that. And then if you're somebody who maybe has trouble with stress and anxiety, which let's be honest, a lot of people do these days, there's also an ebook that you can download for free. And it has some tapping videos included where I go through the sequences and you can just tap along and, get some stress relief. And then also, I'm just kind of starting to do some weekly tapping sessions, different topics. I've got world event stress, or breakup support, or, tapping for not caring what people think about you. So I'm going to be doing those every week, every other week. So if that sounds like something that you would be interested in, please just reach out for more info, and I would love to see you in one of my group sessions.
Oh, thank you. You will probably see me in a session, honestly.
All right.
Because you get rid of that anxiety and stress, right? So thank you. Thank you again for your time today.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure being here.
You just took another step towards owning your story and thriving against all odds. This is Affirm That Shit. Somehow, I thrived. If you're ready to keep kicking ass, subscribe now and let's keep breaking barriers together. Remember, life's a battle, but somehow you'll thrive.